Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of UpGrade with Maria Kay, the podcast where your success, freedom, and happiness get a weekly boost. And today, I am so over the moon. We have special guest Tracy Mason with us. Tracy's a hypnotherapist and online marketing coach, and I know that you will end today feeling even more inspired and motivated to continue elevating your life up towards where you want it to be. Now, if you haven't yet joined us on Facebook, where we get to hang out every day, post, share, get advice, post our breakdowns, even our breakthroughs, then go over to Maria Kay, UpGrade with Maria Kay, knock on the virtual door, and we will let you in. And feel free to post any subjects or topics that you'd really like me to cover, because it's really important for me to give you what you need. So, Tracy, welcome.
Hello, Maria. It's lovely to be here.
Such an honour to have you. I know that you're a busy bee and you've just come back from your travels again. Tracy, tell us what you're most passionate about and why you do the work you do.
Okay, lovely. I am passionate about helping individuals to live their dream life, and whatever that actually means to them. For many years now, 16 years, I've worked with people in a therapeutic context as a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner. I love that, just helping people to boost their confidence and to, release their fears so that they can step out on a personal level as well as a business level as well. And then more recently, the past 3 years or so, because of the success of my hypnotherapy business, I've really enjoyed helping coaching other therapists and healers and wellbeing professionals in terms of helping them to develop their business skills and to help them achieve, again, what is their dream life, which incorporates obviously your personal life, family life, as well as your business skills as well.
Wonderful. So tell us what have you noticed, what have you spotted along the years, all through the years of your work with people who are wanting to make a change? What would you say has been the biggest block or barrier for them?
I think for many people it's the society conditioning by which we've been brought up and by which so many people live. So for many people, the norm is that you go to school, you pass exams, you get that 9-to-5 job, you climb the career ladder, you retire at 65, you have a bit of a pension, and then, you pass over. And I think for many people, it's difficult to break away from that because you have well-meaning family and well-meaning peers that want to keep you within that system of what they feel is safe and secure. But as so many of us are realising, and you and I are kind of, leading this, that there is so much more to life than, in inverted commas, following that so-called normal path that society wants you to follow. So I love helping people who are kind of breaking that mould. And whether it's breaking that mould in terms of becoming self-employed rather than working for someone else in that 9-to-5 routine, helping people break the mould in terms of the way they run their business model. So, for example, some of my therapists have almost replaced their job with a job in their business. If they're working with one-to-one clients, there's only so much time and energy that you have to give. So I love helping people create a different type of business model where they can actually leverage their time and their income by creating group programs or creating information products that they can sell. And they can run these programs and sell from anywhere in the world should they wish to travel, as you and I have been doing.
So really it's about breaking the mold and throwing it away for you. Now, how have you done that in your own life? Give us a bit of a background.
Okay, my corporate career was stockbroking. I was a manager in a stockbroker's, and if only it was 9 to 5, it was probably 9 until 10 some days. So it's really, really long hours. Many aspects of the job I loved because I'm a people person, so I loved the working with the people element. But it was long hours. You kind of initially got sucked into that going up the corporate ladder. But you're working harder for, yes, a little bit more financial return. But I soon realised that if I could only put those hours that I was working for someone else into something that I was passionate about, that I could at least match that income and those benefits that were coming in, if not far exceed it. And so the route that I took, very close to my heart in terms of still helping people, was to become a therapist, to become a hypnotherapist. So I was then, the master of my own ship. Could work the days that I wanted with the clients that I wanted, and that just fitted in beautifully as I had my little boy a couple of years into setting up my business. And he's benefited because, I can be there for him during school holidays. We do a lot of travel during the school holidays as well. And the business model that I created was initially one-to-one, working with clients, being there physically with them. But then I discovered, I can create audios, I can create workbooks, I can create some online courses. And so that I could be helping people in selling those packaged products kind of 24 hours a day while I was asleep, or while Joe and I were on holiday, as we've just been enjoying ourselves in Lanzarote. And it really did go against the grain. For a lot of my peers thought I was absolutely mad, leaving this safety and security of this job. I remember my mum was very, very worried at the time as to what I was doing. But I was determined to make it work, because I wanted a better life for me, and I wanted a better life for my little boy as well.
Wonderful. I would love to know just a little bit more about how, and I'm sure our listeners would too, how did you deal with those comments, those fears that were coming through to you from those around you, your peers, your parents, your friends, your colleagues, on a deeper level? When you're sort of laying there at night trying to fall asleep and you've got their words playing on loop, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What did you do to break through those, what could have been possibly a barrier or a block for you? How did you overcome that?
For me, I followed my passion. I followed my purpose and my destiny. So I always knew that there was something more for me than the corporate world. I always had that knowing, that intuition within me. And I did have the confidence to do it, because I did. I went with it and I set my business up. What I then found in the early days is, oh my goodness, I don't really know a lot about marketing here. I learned that there were a lot of skills that I didn't have and that I had to develop. But I think for me what helped is that I felt absolutely so passionate and so on purpose that this is the work that I was meant to do. And I was going to ride the ups and the downs, the practicalities, the lack of money in the early days, and, the comments from well-meaning mum and other family members and friends. And I think eventually they respected that passion that came from me. And even though in the early days I didn't have as much money as I'd had, when I was in that corporate career, I think what everyone could then see is that actually there were benefits for me over and above money, because money is only one aspect of living, a dream life. So I was healthier. When I was in corporate land, I used to have lots of chest infections and bronchitis during the autumn and winter months. And then when I became self-employed, those health issues disappeared. I was just happier and healthier and just much more fulfilled emotionally and spiritually as well. So I think that always shone through to them, and eventually they could see it and could feel it as to why I was following this path.
Well, such a great message, and it's something that I actually speak about a lot with my students and clients, is that to find what it is you're passionate about and create that big why. We've heard it a lot, you know, it's not something that I created, but why are you wanting to make this change in your life, and focus purely on that, and that's what you've just told us about. And this applies, and just let me know if you agree or not, to all areas of life, not purely shifting from, you know, a 9-to-5 over to a bit of heart-centered business, but any area in life, whether it's your education, whether it's your relationships, your family setup, your location, where you live, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I find that people avoid or block themselves from wanting what they really, really want.
Yeah.
Because as you say, it's become real taboo to want to live a great, blissful life, you know. Most people are quite happy to plod along in what I call the mediocre bracket, which for me is a bit of a swear word. What would you say to that, Tracy?
No, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with what you're saying. But I do see a shift. I do see a movement in society, and whether that is, as you say, someone coming away from traditional employment, or whether that's someone that's deciding they're not going to put their child through the school system, that they're going to home educate. I think we're seeing glimpses of kind of awakenings across the board, which, you know, is why I love the fact that we're here having this discussion, because we need to get the message out to people that there is a different way, and that to live that happy life, that dream life, to be fulfilled, is actually your birthright, and you have to be true to yourself. And kind of break free from that conditioning, what's expected from society.
Yeah, absolutely. Here. It's a very, very exciting time. Well, the fact that you and I base our work life around helping people do this is one massive indication, isn't it, Tracy?
Yes, absolutely.
One thing that I'm imagining you may witness it as well, see, in people who are just coming to that kind of level of awareness, going from being completely unaware that they're actually not happy, or that they're living, like I did for many, many years, a false version of my life that wasn't actually designed by me. It was just following the lead of those around me and what was expected of me. When people first come to that awareness, you may remember it for yourself, it's really, really scary as well as exhilarating. And it's in those early days where it's either make or break, I believe, a little bit like if you were to sort of reach the top of a mountain, ready to do a big sort of skydive or a big, you know, bungee jump or something, and then decide, well, actually, no, I don't want to do it, and then just climb all the way back down again, right? Yeah. What would you say to somebody listening today who may find themselves at that point, maybe they've reached a point of realization that the relationship they're in is not conducive anymore, or, as you say, the way they're educating their children, or the location that they're living in? I mean, this happened to me last year when I upped sticks and decided, you know, as much as I've loved the UK and it's very much in my heart, that it wasn't to be my main home anymore. Yeah. What would you say to somebody who's at that tipping point? You know, it could go either way.
Oh, I would say to them, be inspired by other people that are following the path that you want to follow. You know, to look for the individuals, or to look for where they are on Facebook, the communities of people. So as we were discussing before this call, you know, Joe and I are possibly going to go to Lanzarote for a year, and you know, it initially seems quite overwhelming. Well, how do I do that? Where am I going to live? What about the health service? Do I pay tax there? Do I pay tax in the UK? But I found, Facebook groups all about relocating to Lanzarote, communicating with people that have already done it, or people like me that are thinking about it or in the process. So I would say, look to be inspired by people that are actually doing what you want to do, and if they can do it, then so can you. And obviously, look to working with people such as yourself, who can inspire and can motivate and can help people with some of the emotional and perhaps sometimes, spiritual as well as physical blocks to fulfilling what they actually know in their heart they need to fulfill.
That's great advice. In fact, I did all of those things that you spoke about before my massive relocation to India last year. And I say very openly that probably without my coach, I probably wouldn't have made it so quickly. I mean, from start to finish, from the decision being made, it was literally 6 weeks, and I found myself on that beach in India.
Yeah, that's pretty swift, isn't it? That's pretty swift. Yeah. I think also one of my kind of mantras is, what's the worst that can happen? If you step forward, what is the worst that can happen? Even as I was, leaving my corporate job, it was in my mind, well, what's the worst that can happen? If this business does not work out, I've got the skills, I've got the experience, I can go and get another job. Not in any way, shape or form what I wanted, but I'm very much, what is the worst that can happen? Nothing is set in stone. But if you don't try, if you don't go for what you want, then you will never know. And how sad would that be? To never know whether or not you can do this. And most people can. They absolutely can. It's just having that confidence to do it and to take that first step.
On my vision board, I have an image that with the writing across it, take every risk, drop every fear. I think that ties in beautifully.
Yes, yeah.
Another thing that I talk about all the time is actually trusting your desires. You'll be able to tell me what you think about that in a second as well. That our desires are there as previews to what's possible. And I use the analogy all the time. You guys listening may have heard me say it before, but I'm going to say it again. That if you go to the movies and you're watching the trailers, the preview of which movies are going to be coming out in a few months' time, nobody sits there watching those trailers saying, well, that's not true, that movie's not real, that's not coming out. It's literally showing you what's coming in a few months' time, and the same applies to your desires. If you have a desire for something or a want, right, it's real. It really is real, and our job really is to pay attention, and that's why I talk about being connected. But that's in a whole other podcast, guys. You go back and find that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to. Yeah. So
that's really interesting, because I also think that if your mind, your subconscious mind, if you're tuned into the universe, if you're getting that signal that that's your desire, the reason you're getting that signal is because it is possible for you anyway. That you will be supported if you step out and get the momentum going.
Absolutely. Tracy, how would you feel about taking us through a very short little process today to help us connect to those desires?
Well, for me, I'm very much into vision boarding as a practical kind of exercise to create a vision board as to what you want to step into, what you want to manifest. And then also, obviously, as a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, I'm also into then going into that lovely meditative state to create it within your mind, to imagine it, to experience it as if it's actually happening. So in terms of creating a vision board, I'm very much a hands-on, a tactile person, so I like to cut lovely pictures and words out of magazines and then stick them onto a physical board to represent what I want to create. I've got kind of a shorter term vision board, which is kind of a 3 to 6 months, and then I've got a longer term vision board, which is kind of a 5-year plan. But what I regularly do is go into a relaxed state, hypnosis, meditation, and then I live it as if it is happening, and that really, really helps me to create and to manifest. And then also, as I said, on that kind of that practical level as well, looking at practically how I can do things. So I've got Lanzarote on the vision board in terms of a lovely picture that I took on holiday of Joe and the backdrops of the lovely mountains in Lanzarote. I've got a time period for 2016. I'm visioning it, I'm meditating on it, but then also I'm taking that practical action, doing some research. As I said, I'm looking in the Facebook group, so I'm using my conscious mind as well as my subconscious mind as well.
Beautiful. Really juicy stuff. So if I was to ask you for one more nugget of wisdom to share with our audience today, what would that be before we wrap up?
I think what's coming up for me is the word trust. So in terms of being spiritually aligned and connected and picking up on those messages as to what your purpose is, to what your destiny is, then trust it. Listen to those signals, tune in, listen to those messages, and just keep taking that next step and that next step in that lovely direction of that dream life that you want to create for yourself.
So I just want to thank you so much. Before we finish, I'd like us all just to draw on the group energy that we've created, whether you're listening, last year, the next year, it doesn't matter. We're infusing this podcast with as much of anything that you need right now. So I just would like to take this moment to invite you all to close your eyes. And if you've been listening from day one to all of these podcasts, then you will have already come across the one about visioning and connection and everything you will need to be in this moment is already there. If you haven't yet, it's absolutely fine. Still, join in and go back and listen to the previous ones when you have a moment, when you have some time. But just for now, close your eyes and just be connected to your breath. And just know that in this moment, everything is as it needs to be. Nothing is wrong and nothing is missing. But what we will do in this moment is make a promise to ourselves. That, as Tracy just said, is to trust. Trust the messages, trust the signals, trust the ahas and the serendipities and the synchronicities as you move forward day by day. You are here listening to us because you are wanting to make a change in your life. You've taken this chunk out of your day because something is pulling you forth, beckoning you forward. And all that you need to do is to listen, pay attention, trust, and take inspired action. So we know you can do it, don't we, Tracy?
We do indeed, and we're holding a space for each and every one of you to do it.
And as always, guys, please feedback to me on the Facebook group. I am so excited to be on this journey with you and to be able to invite people like Tracy on board to support you, even though you may not feel it right now. It's there. We're rooting for you. Before we began recording, we both said that we are highly passionate and excited for this big movement that's happening, for people who are waking up and knowing that life doesn't have to be this way. I don't have to stay in a situation that I'm unhappy with, right? So you're one of those people, and by you moving forward in your life, you also inspire other people, right? So we're here to help and inspire each other. So post in the group, share with me any questions, any ahas, any breakthroughs, or even any difficulties that you may be, experiencing, because they're part of it too. But for now, I am leaving you with as much love as you can possibly absorb in this moment. And Tracy, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.